I want to wrap up our discussion of the 7 deadly sins today by looking at the final deadly sin, the sin of envy. Envy is a sadness in the face of goodness in another's life, whether that's a goodness that they possess, an object, or whether it's a goodness, a talent, a gift from God that we don't possess and we're jealous because they possess it. Envy resents the good. We see it, first of all, in the ultimate battle, the battle of Satan. Satan's sin is one of pride, but Satan's sin is also one of envy. He envies the goodness of God. And he spends the rest of time causing us to do the same. We see goodness, we're envious of it, and it turns into destruction. That envy enslaves us. We see it as we enter now Holy Week. We see it in the stories we're about to read about the last days of Christ's life. The leadership of the time is envious of Christ. They're envious of his popularity, of his power, of his authority. They resent the good, and it ultimately leads them to put him to death. When we look at the sin of envy in our life, we might ultimately think of, jealousy and contempt and scorn, but it can also manifest itself in things like gossip and belittling speech, where when we gossip about people, when we talk about people, when we judge them, are we ultimately envious of them? And so we turn to gossip to lower them in the eyes of other people. What is at the root of our sins? Is it resenting the goodness of God in the life of others? This week, when we fight the sin of envy, let's go back to that virtue of gratitude. At the very beginning of our discussion, when we looked at pride, I said, let's go back and look at being grateful for the gifts that God's given us in our lives. Well, this week, I want us to be grateful for the gifts that God has given others. Think about the talents and the gifts that the people around you have, and thank God for those gifts. Maybe go out of your way to praise someone, even in their presence or even in their absence, to speak highly of them, to speak highly of their talents, especially if that person rubs you the wrong way. Let's cultivate that gift for gratitude for the goodness of God. As we wrap up our discussion of the 7 deadly sins, I want to remind you that all of this, our fight against sin, our quest for virtue, all of it is with the help of God. We can't do any of this on our own. We can't pull ourselves up to heaven by our own bootstraps. And so as we enter Holy Week, let's turn to God in prayer. Let's thank him for these gifts. Let's ask his help for temptation, because all of this can only be done in cooperation with him. And that's a little theology in 3 minutes. Hey friends, exciting news for you. My very first book is available from Ave Maria Press. It's called Opening the Holy Door, and it's scriptural reflections on the virtue of hope. It's the perfect way to celebrate this Jubilee year, as together we are pilgrims of hope. You can find the link in the description below or go to joanwatson.faith to order your copy today.